The San Francisco 49ers are getting off a bye this week after going 0-3 into this particular break. Now, we know what the San Francisco 49ers need to do. They need to get back to winning, and that starts with the Jags. But there have been a lot of questions that have popped up about Brock Purdy. Is Brock Purdy the real deal? And what really is going on with Brock? Because of the last 3 weeks, we have seen turnovers occur that have really put the 49ers in a bad spot. Just it is what it is. And so a lot of what these last 3 weeks have been about are trying to decipher good Brock, bad Brock, who is Brock Purdy? We're still trying to figure out who exactly this young quarterback is. Well, speaking of young quarterbacks, Steve Young joined KMBR, as he always does, to discuss what he sees from Brock Purdy. And I really like what he had to say, but I'm going to let you listen to what he said, and then we'll react to it on the other side.
Your thoughts on Brock? I mean, because when you look at him in totality, he's still making some incredible throws. Those throws to Kittle last week were phenomenal. Like, he made some really good throws, but he's had a couple moments now in back-to-back games where you're thinking, you know what, you just – like, that's the thing I've always said, Steve, so hard about being a great, very good, if not great quarterback. You got to make those throws and do those things, and you got to do them without the picks, and you got to do them consistently. It's not like do it 2 out of 3 weeks. It's like do it 6 out of 7 weeks every single year for a long period of time. So, okay, he's obviously not there yet, but he's still he can make a lot of those throws. But what do you make of kind of the mistakes in the critical times? Is that something to worry about, or is it, hey, he's young? It's still it's early in his career. He's just getting to the first year of his career.
Critical mistakes by the quarterback are always, that's where PTSD is formed by that kind of stuff. So you do not want that, and that's just, we're all the same. Every quarterback's the same. But let's go back to Brock came to us, and we didn't know it until we saw it really a little bit in the summer, but then obviously when we took over the Dolphins and then on, that he came from this. Remember I talked about the force, Star Wars force, the presence, on-field presence. He came kind of fully formed. Most guys that are going to be great at it or good at it kind of have to work at it a little bit, but he kind of came fully formed. Like he came out of college really far ahead of the developmental process for NFL quarterbacks. And so that's the part that we talk about every week that allows him to have tight guardrails. We expect that, we're not expecting really terrible football games or, blood everywhere. Like, we expect him to kind of hold it together and be pretty efficient. The one thing I notice about Brock after watching him just over and over again is that when his back foot hits, the ball's coming, and it's coming with purpose, and it's coming aspirationally a little bit. And so he's going to have throws that just don't quite meet everyone else doesn't meet the aspiration of his timing and because his look at it this way. He's as the positives. He 0 to 15 yards. He's 13th in the league, and 15 to 40. He's 3rd in the league, which is really, that's a heck of a stat, right? A young player, 15 to 40 yards, is 3rd in the league. That's where the pros hang out, right? That's where, and so that part of it, I don't think is going to go away. I think the end of the season, probably end of his career, he's probably going to have, be one of the top throwers in that mid-range because the ball's coming out. He's got a plan for it, and that's, and his arm can answer those questions. Now, interestingly, plus 40 throwing, the long throws, the arching throws, the deep posts, the sideline throws where you get a lot of cheap yards from pass interference, especially end of games, can put pressure on defenses, stretching the field. He hasn't had a throw. Not one. One of 2 guys in the league that have not had a throw over 40 yards. And so if that's going to be and I think that's probably who we're going to see. And so we're missing that little element that if you look at Jalen Hurts or you look at Joe Burrow, you look at Josh Allen, you look at Patrick Mahomes, plus 40 throws. I didn't see the stat on that one, but I'm assuming it's, pretty prevalent. And that's where they get those cheap pass interference, end of game, kind of big chunky stuff that happens. And every once in a while, one of those big plays. So if that's who Brock's positive side is, then he needs that efficiency. And so especially at the end of games, he knows it too. When he threw every pick he's had, you're like, I'm sure, because I could sense it with him. He's like, oh, that's ridiculous. What am I thinking? Like, he's that smart. Like, he doesn't come. A lot of guys throw picks at the end of games. And they're like, what happened? Well, if you don't know what happened, then we're in deep trouble, bro, because you're the one with the ball in your hand. But I'm telling you, a lot of quarterbacks come to the sidelines after making mistakes, and coach will say, what did you see? They're making it up. Literally like, whoa, I thought the linebacker went deep. Like, their mind went blank. That's not Brock. Yeah. Brock is going to come to the sidelines and go, crap. I thought he was going to break earlier. I thought, I saw every bit of it. Nothing ever happens, to my mind, that Brock doesn't see. Yeah. And so those mistakes at the end of the game, he is an aspirational thrower. The ball's going to come out. I think he's unafraid, especially in that range that he's really good at. And it's a dangerous range. And you can get into jams. And so I don't think it's a theme. I don't think I was like, at the end of his career, we'll say, oh my gosh, end of game interceptions really caused him that much grief. I don't think that's the theme. Okay. I think he'll clean that up. I'm not worried about it. So there's a lot of positives, but I don't think we should say, oh, he's young, because in a way we can't have it both ways. He's actually came to us pretty fully formed, and so his presence and the things that we say for young quarterbacks making dumb mistakes, I don't think he makes dumb mistakes. I don't think, even at his age, I think he makes mistakes, which everyone makes, but I don't think they're dumb ones. I think that he might have been fooled. He might have been, overthought it, but it wasn't what is normal for young quarterbacks is, I have no idea what just happened. Right. Hopefully we'll grow out of that era of our lives when we have, and some quarterbacks never get out of it. And I won't mention names, but I have a few in my mind that are like, they never really got out of that. They were pretty productive, but they never got out of that way of when something goes haywire and then what happened. I'm not sure. I got overwhelmed. I'm not sure. So that's the big Brock Purdy kind of breakdown in my mind.
Okay, so let me ask you this then, because I'm with you. Like, you're saying Brock is not. You're saying like he's not totally inexperienced based on the number of throws.
Yeah, no, I think saying he's young.
Right, I'm with you.
He did play 4 years in college. And you can say that, but he also came to us with this headiness, this guile, this sense of presence that was outsized for his experience.
Yeah.
And so with that, I don't think we should say, oh, he's young. Yeah, he is. And we should make some space for it. But that's not the problem. The problem is maybe too aspirational, and it has to be like the risk. The problem, okay, let's see if I can boil down that 5-minute soliloquy that was a bunch of, I could hear you falling asleep.
No, I'm not. Actually, I had a follow-up to that, and then we're back into this. I was just referencing for anybody who's just joining us. It is Steve Young with us on the Yuma guest line, because I agree with you on the inexperience. I was going to ask, this is the first time as a starting quarterback he's faced a bye week here. They had a week 9 last year. They're coming off a 3-game losing streak. What's the best use of his time throughout a bye week like this?
I always say, Kyle, let's go over it again. Shanahan, his dad, Mike, let's go over it against Shanahan. And it's Brock, let's go over it against Shanahan. I mean, Purdy, that's what he loves. That's why Kyle loves him, is because he's willing to do that work. And so I hope that he takes a week off. You know what I mean? Because his nature is to go out and walk through the mistakes. I'm sure he's walked through every throw that he's made a mistake on and tried to rethink what he did and what not to do the next time. Because you got to be careful. It's not a science project. Most of it out there playing, it's an art project, and yet there's science underneath it that you've got to make some pay attention to. But so much of it is in motion, in game, and so you don't want to overthink things. So take a week off. Let your mind rest, because his mind's going to be tested over the next couple of months. I hope he takes a week off.
The biggest takeaway that I had from Steve Young talking on KMBR with Tolbert and Copes, and by the way, shout out to Copes for being named the station director at KMBR. That's pretty dope. But in regards to what Steve Young had to say about Brock Purdy and the perceived struggles that he's having, I really like the way he quantified it, because I too have gone back, I've watched the tape, and I've been really looking through it with that lens, trying to understand what's going on with Brock Purdy. Is there a bigger issue? Is he fool's gold? Is he Jimmy Garoppolo 2.0 like we've heard? And I'm just really trying to look at it through that lens. And the way Steve Young quantified it was what I'm kind of thinking as well. Steve Young said, we got to stop looking at this kid like he is just this rookie, this young guy. Because one of the things that made Brock Purdy so successful so early when he was thrust into the game against the Dolphins, taking down Tom Brady, then going on a short week, beating Seattle to clinch the West, he's played at an extremely high level from a mental processing standpoint. So Brock Purdy came in already feeling like beyond a young kid, beyond a young quarterback. He played beyond his years. And so what Steve Young is saying is we got to stop kind of using that as the excuse. Oh, he's young. He's going to make these mistakes. And you really have to identify how and why these mistakes are happening. And I do like what Steve Young had to say. And I like that thought process because that is one of the biggest traits that we have spoke to Brock Purdy's success is his maturity and how he plays this game at a level as if he's a 3, 4, 5 year veteran quarterback in this league, even though he hasn't even had a full 17 starts under his belt. He's really close. But I agree with that. And when you go back and you watch the tape, especially against the Bengals, or you go back against the Vikings, or even the Browns for that matter, when you look at the plays that Brock missed, you can kind of see what was going down. You can see either it was a timing issue, you could see it was a full bust breakdown, like I think the most egregious play that Brock Purdy had over that 3-game losing streak was the missed handoff that he had to, I believe it was Elijah Mitchell on a very important drive, driving into the red zone. If he would have handed it off, I truly believe it would have been a walk-in touchdown. He pulls it. You're going to have offensive lineman downfield, so you can't throw it, but he throws it anyways, and it gets picked. Like that to me was more of just like oh no, what do I do in this type scenario? And I don't necessarily look at that as him being inexperienced or any of those things. Obviously, he's going to learn from that particular experience. But when you look at some of the other picks, you look at the one over the middle. You had Jawan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk in the same area. Obviously, we understand these route concepts are designed to pull defenders out of certain zones. And if you have two wide receivers running the same route, there's probably going to be some kind of miscommunication. And we know Brock throws with tons of anticipation. So honestly, though, when you look at the entire body of work, Brock was cooking that game. He really was. He was making a lot of really good throws. He threw a lot of dimes. Even when they got into those dire situations, he drove them down the field, had some really good throws. So when I listen to Steve Young and I go back and I watch the tape as well, really, I think, the way Steve Young quantified it is just like Brock knows what he's doing wrong. Like he's going to go back, he's going to watch that play, he's going to be like, I misread the defensive end. I pulled it when I shouldn't have, and I threw it when I shouldn't have. And that resulted in a huge, huge issue for my team. It wasn't like he's incapable of making that play. It was a flat out mistake. And he makes a mistake. And all players make mistakes. And unfortunately, it came at a crucial time. The biggest thing is we don't want to see it trend this way. We're going to see mistakes. We're going to see things pop up. We just don't want to see it to continue to trend in this direction when the game is on the line. Honestly, I continue to watch the tape. I've referenced, the Jimmy Garoppolo 2.0. I don't see it. Like, I really don't. We watched a lot of Jimmy, and so we have a great reference point with him. Brock is not. He doesn't play football that way. He sees the whole field. He throws with, I would say, even more zip on the ball than Jimmy did. And I think that was one of Jimmy's best attributes, was throwing over the middle, 10 to 15 with a lot of zip. Brock throws with zip, anticipation. He challenges outside the numbers. He throws layered throws, 20 to 35 yards downfield. He's constantly challenging deep. And so when I look at Brock, I really don't see a ton of things from a catastrophic standpoint. of like Brock won't ever be able to overcome this. When I look at the mistakes and the interceptions he's throwing, he can overcome those. Those are things that he can correct with time. And when you look at the entire body of work, again, kind of similar to the Vikings game where he played exceptionally well and then just had out of the last 6 throw through 2 interceptions after, he was concussed. But hey, still, you can see where the issues lie. I'm really not that concerned with Brock. Obviously, if this is a trend that develops, we will become concerned. But as I'm seeing it right now, I just see it as just more of a processing thing. And he already processes at an extremely high level. It's one of his best attributes. It's just certain situations, if something breaks down or isn't exactly how it should, he's still kind of operating the original timing or the original situation. And that's not always the case. We saw him be very effective with his legs as well. But I'm not concerned. I'm not. I'm really not. And I think if Brock Purdy comes out against the Jags, has a good game, and continues to lead this team to a victory, it's going to just extinguish any concerns I may have had. And I really don't. Obviously, we want to clean up the turnover worthy plays in the red zone. Can't have those. We got to be more careful with the football, especially over the middle of the field, because we are starting to see some tendencies of defenses kind of, really honing in on the middle of the field. So as long as Brock can continue to work through that, I'm not really that concerned. But that's my long-winded rant. Haven't really had a great big opportunity to talk about that game yet. But let me know what you think about what Steve Young had to say. Hell, let me know what you think I had to say about the situation. And as always, you can find the full interview on KMBR on their podcast platform. And you can follow them below in the description. But until then, I appreciate all you guys for your continued support. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.